All right, welcome to the Golden Belt Buckle Podcast. Thank you for joining me. As usual, if you like the content, do me a favor, like and subscribe. Tell all your friends about it. I would appreciate it. We're going to talk about Navjeet Singh again. We're going to talk about how much time he is actually going to get in a Canadian prison for running the stop sign in Manitoba near Altona and killing a 35-year-old mother and her 8-year-old daughter. For those who don't know, he was driving a semi-truck and he ran a stop sign, killing these two people. And after which he promised to go back to the police station for an interview. Instead, he didn't show up. He left the hospital, he got on a plane, fled the country. He got caught coming in off an Ethiopian Airlines flight August 21st, almost about 8 or 9 months later. And the last video I did was about whether or not he was going to get bail, right? So he's in custody, or he might not be in custody at the time of this. I'm not really sure. But so we're going to talk about how much time is he actually going to get? Because a lot of people, I've seen several videos on this. It's all over the news. And, emotions are running high right now, especially over what happened in Florida with that Hargender fella. Like, that was like a powder keg just blew off in the States right there, right? So now people are really putting the spotlight on a lot of the East Indian drivers that are coming over here, right? Temporary foreign workers. And, so this fella here, he came from Brampton, right? He's a Brampton truck driver. But anyways, we'll get on. We're going to go into the charges. He's been charged with dangerous driving causing death. And for that charge to be proven, you have to prove that there was some sort of departure from the norm. There was a departure from the kind of driving that a reasonable person would expect to see, right? That's what you have to prove. That's what the Crown has to prove. And if he's convicted of it, it's a very serious offense. That could possibly give him life in prison. The law says, subsection 320.13, it addresses the gravest form of the offense, applying where the dangerous operation of the conveyance results in a person's death. In such cases, the offense is indictable only, and the maximum penalty is life imprisonment. Excuse me. So the maximum penalty, if he gets convicted, is life in prison. But the question is, how much is he going to get? And to answer that question, let's look at Canadian sentencing, our entire philosophy of the prison system. Now, if you're American watching this, I know most of my watchers are Americans, the Canadian justice system doesn't like giving out long prison sentences. Prison is seen as damaging to a person's ability to reintegrate back into society. So they don't want to take people who, like for someone to get put in prison, whatever your term is, it's got to be proportional to the crime, right? It doesn't matter how many people you killed. It just, there are people that one judge said they're more blameworthy even though they killed less people, right? Figure that one out. Well, it's not hard to imagine, right? One person meant to do it, one person did it by accident, right? But that's what they're talking about. It's the proportionality. What was your intent, right? If you didn't mean to kill anybody, they're not going to treat you like a serial killer. So the punishment needs to suit the crime. That's the Canadian philosophy. It's rehabilitative. It's meant to reintegrate you into society. So that is how they look at it. They don't like to hand out mandatory sentences because they don't believe that mandatory sentences reduce crime. They don't see that it does anything. And I'm not learned enough to be able to argue whether that's true or not. So I'm not gonna say one way or another, right? But on top of that, they also go by precedent. They're going to look at what past cases have got for the same crime, right, under the same circumstances. That's going to be taken into account. And so within this, when they go to trial or they work out a deal, they're excuse me, they're going to look at aggravating and mitigating circumstances. An aggravating circumstance would be the attitude, the character of the person who was, like this fella here, Navjeet. They're going to look at, excuse me, I got allergies. They're going to look at his character. What are his past offenses? Does he have a criminal record? Is he sorry for what he did? Does he have remorse? Right? Is he claiming responsibility for his actions? Those are going to be mitigating factors, right? Or aggravating if he's not, right? So if he's a young man, he's got a young family, he's got kids he's raising, he's got a record of steady employment, that's going to be a mitigating factor. Him running, fleeing from the country for 8 months, that's going to be seen as an aggravating factor. All these different circumstances are going to weigh on the judge's decision on what kind of sentence to impose on him, right? So that is something that's got to be taken into account. On top of that, you got to look at precedents. Lots of people, and there's sources I'm going to cite, have been convicted of dangerous driving causing death, and they don't get the maximum life sentence. In fact, they get like the highest one I saw, I think it was like 12 years, but that was like on the extreme side. There was one, a young man got 6 years, and that was considered severe. By comparison, that guy there, I think he killed a couple of his friends. He was drinking and driving. He was a young man. And then you got someone like the Humboldt Broncos killer, who ran a stop sign, killed 16 hockey players. I think that was in Saskatchewan. He got 8 years. And he got charged with 16 counts, but they ran them concurrently, not consecutively. That's what they do. They run them concurrently. They don't run them consecutively. They don't want you in prison for the rest of your life for what they consider to be a mistake, right? So, if you're emotional about this and you're thinking he's going to get like a really lengthy prison sentence on that basis alone, if he walks into the court. If he walks into the court and he's like, yeah, I killed him, I don't care, and I ran because I had the option, I just don't care who I killed. Well, excuse me, if he does that, then obviously his attitude's going to dictate, he's going to get a longer sentence. But if he walks in there and he's like, I am so sorry for what I did. I'm sorry for running. I know I hurt the family. I know I put them through a lot of grief. They must have, I feel really bad for destroying this man's family. If he goes in there with that kind of an attitude and he's got a clean record, nothing else on his record, he has no history of dangerous driving, maybe a couple speeding tickets or something, he's going to get a couple years. That's my prediction. He'll be out in less than 4 years. Whether it's right or wrong, that's a different story, but that is what my prediction is. And actually, the lawyers will probably even try to get that thrown out, because his lawyers will say, hey, look, you have to prove a departure from the normal behavior of a reasonable person here, right? That's what you have to prove to make this charge stick. And they might argue, hey, look, it was dark out. The stop sign was small. He accidentally overran his headlights. And on top of that, the paint on the stop sign was a bit faded, right? So they might argue all these little things to make it look like it was just a lapse in judgment, careless driving, right? That's what they're probably going to try to do. So in that case, he might not get anything, right? But let's suppose he gets convicted of dangerous driving causing death. The worst punishment I think he's going to get is a prohibition on his driver's license. That seems to be the preferred method of punishment that I can see. Like they take your license away. There's a mandatory minimum of a 1-year suspension on your license if you get convicted of this. So what I see is judges giving off like 5 years, 10 years. They can even give a lifetime ban if they think what you did was bad enough. But yeah, in this case, he'll get a driver's license ban. Maybe that'll be for a couple of years. He's got to answer for obstructing the police officer, right? Because he ran away. But that'll be tacked on to his couple-year sentence. He's not going to be in prison for very long. That's just how Canadians do it, right? If he's genuinely remorseful, they're not going to want to treat him like a serial killer. They're not going to want to treat him like a murderer. They're going to let him out, right? Is it easy or Is that an easy sentence, too light, or is it too harsh? Let me know in the comments. If you like the content you're seeing, like and subscribe. I try to discuss all things transportation. And till next time, keep the rubber side down. Cheers.